Good morning, Pooja. Welcome to Deep Dive. It's a pleasure to have you this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Biggest celeb in town these days. Pooja, you're quite an interesting character. But let me start by asking you, give us some background of how an Ijebu-Ode man, became one of the biggest sports journalists in Lagos. Give me a bit about your life growing up in Ijebu-Ode and what it was like, as a young boy running down the streets of Ijebu.
Quite interesting. From a very humble background. The last one of the family of 4 boys. So studied in Ado-Ekiti. So I would say I'm not familiar with Lagos. I always come to Lagos for holidays. During those days, our uncles would be in Lagos, and we always come to, the Bar Beach that time to actually have Christmas or festive period. But after my NYC, I did my NYC in Ibadan. I felt like I should move away from my comfort zone. I should come to Lagos because after NYC we still stay back in Lagos and in Ibadan for one year. We're getting, we've saved a lot. Those days it was 9,007. So, and the economy was good. So we saved up, and the local government we worked paid us, our 10 months. So they paid us like 50K.
Just. When you said that 9,007, because I remember that I also earned 9,700 when I was serving, and it's unimaginable that people could actually save and send money back home in 9,700. And it's shocking.
We had the last set, in 2012, before I think the 18,000 came, just before the election. And it was actually a very big money, I must confess, because 97 you flex, you you do, you pay your bills, you do your data. That time, internet was coming up then, and you could afford the basic. You could have, that time we always travel back to Lagos to have some fun. With the go this weekend, let's go to Lagos on 7,000. And during my own, PPA, we didn't get any stipend. It was start 97. We saved for our accommodation. So, and after NYC, we stayed for another 1 year because our local government that time paid us 50K for, our service here. So we had a lot of money. So let's stay in Lagos. Let's stay in Ibadan now. After 8 months, 9 months, hunger started knocking in. Young boys, like 4 young boys, not doing anything. I feel like let's move to Lagos. So I had an uncle then in Bariga. Spoke with him. Okay, guy, you can come in. And then I just started blogging, and that time I started with Pooja Adebayo blog. .blogspot.com. And that's where this journey started.
So 10 years ago, you came into Lagos. You started with a blog where you were putting out very interesting posts. Where did the pivot come into sports? Because at some point you started to lean more towards reporting on sports. You had always been a fashion of football and sports, or you just recognized an opportunity in that regard? Which was it?
Okay, people don't actually know my backstory in university. People who listen to me or who know me from university know that I ran one. There's a viewing center then. I called it Stamford Bridge. Okay. In Ado-Ekiti, in my 3rd year. And I started being self-sufficient, because of course, 4 boys, most are in university, so pocket money is always hard to come by. So I just did a lot of did so many projects, gave some money and asked some money and did them viewing center. So I've always been in sports, but not really into it like a career-wise. But when hunger sets in, you have to find your level, and of course started the blogging. And people don't know that during my own time, because it was the occupied Nigerian time, and it was not really a sports, Nigeria is sport. But I blogged like 50 stories per day. Blogged like, there was a day I did 80. I still have, the archives. I can get the dates from my diary. I did 8 stories per day, and when I see people doing 2, 3, 4 stories, I say this one no way they go. So that was when I just started doing. That's why I felt that politics was very very was everywhere. Then there was protests, but I just feel like let me continue my sport.
And just soon after that, you started to get on radio, Hot FM, and Agidingbi. How did you make the pivot into radio? What led you into doing sports analysis on air? Or first, how did you even get that break to get on radio, Hot FM?
Well, I think my first break was, I think 2014-15 when there was the trophy tour, the Champions League trophy tour, and by that time I've won the best blog in Lagos and in Nigeria. And I think the agency, I can't remember the agency, around GRA. No, I think they've actually, renamed themselves. Reach out to me and feel like, okay, fine, let's do this together. So we did that together, and through that I met Biola Kazim, and from there I started doing a lot of work with Traders Corp, with Tejo Shomake, with him, and with and his brother Yomi Kazim, and glory goes to late Deji. It was close to Biola Kazim because they were running COD. As at that time with the chairman now, Shola Ekpakon, the chairman Lagos State Sports Commission, and he called me to his office and said, now that you are actually moving on social media, you make money. You have to go into broadcasting and do radio so that you get more money, get sponsorship, and you get more popular. And by that time, Biola Kazim was on radio, and he just have to just tell Biola Kazim, and I interned with Biola Kazim for close to 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
Before actually started talking on radio.
Fantastic. And then soon after, the most incredible story I read about you was that you became a CAF and NFF accredited photographer.
Yeah.
What did that moment feel like? That young boy from Ijebu had become a CAF and NFF accredited photographer. What did that mean to you?
I didn't plan it because I was making small change. I was thinking I was comfortable, and by that time I've started doing my own shows. And because I've started knowing some people in the industry, and Biola Kazim walked up to me that I think one day like that I said, guy, if you're a journalist, you have to travel, because you are getting popular. If you have any contract from abroad and they deny you visa, those people feel like, you call yourself journalist now, did they deny you visa? And those are the opportunities that could come your way in the future. So you have to go for international tournament. So by that time, there was AFCON in 2019 in Egypt. I couldn't go for Russia because I feel like I have sponsorship in Nigeria. Why am I going to Russia? But he said you have to travel. And when I did my CAF channel, did my FIFA channel, apply for accreditation, send proposals. And I thought, Biola Kazim would tell me, okay, fine, the visa is $100, take $100 and I was like, I won't go do my visa. He said, we'll take our pass. I said, I say you can travel. I said, no. But you have to save everything. Okay, I said, okay, fine. Let me pay. It's just $100. Then let me pay for my visa. When the ticket comes, let me see if it's going to support me. And I think the ticket was over 300,000. And I walk out to him and say, I don't book ticket too. He said, everything can happen. I said, I won't go Egypt now. They don't give me accreditation. See my visa. He said, go now. So the growth and development was, I won't say it was harsh, but it just make you, very strong, very focused, and not really rely on people, do your things yourself. And, appreciation goes to him, and of course to the late Digital.
Yeah, Biola loves tough love.
Yeah, this one is not tough love. This one is high hand.
Yes, you covered, AFCON in Cameroon recently. Yeah. I followed your reports of how the Super Eagles were doing in and out of training and all of that. But before we even talk about AFCON, let me first ask you, did you support the decision for Gede Raw to be sacked in the way and in the manner that he got sacked, particularly the time that he got sacked?
I'll say, insight, you feel like we've not our performances dived. We didn't we started drawing games, we close to the pitch side as photojournalists. we almost have heart attacks, against Central African Republic, against Cape Verde. The last game against Cape Verde, we used to qualify for this particular, AFCON for Cameroon. We are on the edge for the playoff for the World Cup, and we feel like okay, fine, we need new hands. I think the only reason why I feel like it was a wrong decision was they didn't replace Genetro with a big name or a competent manager. I think it was a mistake from my own perspective, and of course colleagues have spoken with that. Eguavoen was not the right person to actually lead us. So if you look at the accident and how we performed at AFCON and even the World Cup qualifier, I think it could have been better to leave a very rigid manager who it will be difficult to break, but we'll still qualify for the major tournament. Now we play good football and we are nowhere to be found.
I mean, you just took me to the next question I wanted to ask you, which was about Austin Eguavoen. You thought he was the wrong decision to lead us to the Nations Cup, like you rightfully said. But you watched the players in the training field or in the training ground before. Did you see in the players that they had confidence in their manager, who was Austin Eguavoen? Did you think that they were playing for him? Did he inspire that confidence from the players to put out their best, or they just looked at him like another manager that was passing by? Because I mean, the appointment clearly stated that he was going to be there for an interim time. Did he inspire confidence from the players?
Well, I think to be fair on Austin Eguavoen, I think we had a very interesting training session. When you follow the Genetro for like 4 or 5 years, you've seen the same routine, the same training pattern. So in Cameroon, we were in Abuja for 1 week before we went to Cameroon. We saw a new feeling, a new training regime pattern. Of course, we had the Paula Igbe going to have to come in as well. So we saw a new energy, a new tenacity in the team. But I think they lacked that competence. They lacked that game management. They were good, the training sessions were good, even from other journalists they were in Abuja, even went to Cameroon. It was another fresh year. The players loved it because when you're tired with doing the same thing every time for like 5 years, 6 years plus with Genetro and a new manager, you feel like okay, fine, this guy can give us. And you saw that what happened against Egypt. Yeah. But I feel like they are not competent enough to actually read games and give the players on-field, decisions or maybe philosophy or something to actually win games.
Where do we get this? Because oftentimes, sports journalists like you always talk about the fact that African managers, in fact, particularly Nigerian managers who predominantly have been ex-players, usually lack that technical edge. The same criticisms were made about Olise and before him. Why is it so difficult for our managers to find that technical edge? Because I would assume that they train in the same institutions that other coaches from Europe train.
Yeah.
So where do they miss that technical edge from? Is it an African problem? Or where does it come from?
Well, I won't say it's an African problem because if you look at the best practices, coaches always move with their team. If you look at Arteta, he even signed his new contract with his assistant manager beside him. If you look at club have worked with a particular assistant for close to 6, 7, 8 years. Even Mourinho cannot move to another club and not go with his backroom staff, the nutritionist. And I think the only problem about Africa is the main coach or the head coach, unfortunately, don't decide his backroom staff. Look at what is going on in Nigeria. Before the new manager, we are still waiting for the new manager. But the NFF and the Minister of Sport have given him assistant coaches down to the game reader. And sometimes and you see what works now. You see game reader with small monitor even on the bench. So I think all managers are not well equipped. When Pep Guardiola was at Man City, he relied so much on Mikel Arteta because you can't see everything, and I think that's where it comes from. You have to consolidate yourself with other big. But unfortunately for Africa, look at what happened in Cameroon. They played so well, in at AFCON, and all of a sudden they had to just bring Rigobert Song to just be the coach, and just brought in another assistant manager. Look at what happened in Ghana. So. But big managers know their deficiency, and they move with their backroom staff. You see in a new signing of a new coach. Look at Ten Hag. presently now, Man City are talking to his assistant at Ajax, and he has told them, I can't move without this guy. So, and that is why, it's difficult in Africa to actually decide or, make a decision from the FA, because at the end of the day, you feel like if I make decision, these people no fee, they don't go pay me. So you just play to their game, and unfortunately, it costs you in games.
Talk to me about what it was like when we lost that game against Tunisia. What was the dressing room like? What was the mood from the players? And particularly, what was the mood towards Iwobi was the one who picked up the red card. What was the mood of the players towards Iwobi, and how did they take it in the dressing room? Was it that of disappointment and heartbreak that they thought they could have done more, or what was it like?
Well, let me just start with, I sat on the pitch for for like 10 minutes because, what the Jola man. It was heartbreak, for every journalist, because nobody, we are not familiar with, cashing out in the last 16 and even, in the group stage. So it was, we've already booked for the semi-final or even the last day of the competition. And within the players, I think, there was no mixed zone. Normally if you win games, they're all mixed zones. Players walk through mixed zone, talk to journalists. So there was no mixed zone. The players didn't even want to come out. And it was disappointment because prior to that game, we were the kings of, they gave us award. Ikawa was the coach of the group stage, best team in the group stage because we were unbeaten. And when we got to the camp, after the game, no player, I'm telling you this authority, no player was seen at the reception. No player, they didn't even come, even the ones that we share relationship with, didn't want to come out because they feel like they're disappointed, even their paddies, their journalist friends. So nobody was, and for Iwobi, it was not that there was they were hostile towards them, because I was opportune to fly back with the team to Abuja, from Cameroon, and because we didn't know we were going to lose out against Ghana. The feeling in the plane was, we are going to deal with Ghana. This is, you have to compensate Nigeria, but they didn't compensate us.
And you just got me to where I was taking you next, which is the Ghanaian match that we played, which cost us, of course, a spot in the World Cup. How did you feel in that moment when Ghana knocked us out, our longest rivals, our neighbors also? What was your feeling like? And the players who wanted to prove a point with Ghana, because over the two legs, the truth is our players did not turn up in both games, except for our striker in the second leg, the gentleman that plays for Napoli,
Victor
Osimhen, who put up a bit of a showing in the second leg, but we just didn't turn up. First, let me ask you, why did you think we didn't turn up for that tournament? First question. Second, do you think we should have kept Eguavon to manage those two games, or we should have fired him right out of Tunisia? And for me, do you think that the decision to leave Eguavon to manage those two games also cost us a spot at the World Cup?
Well, I think the NFL technical team did a good job on the team, because in Cameroon it was, we feel like there was deficiency, because against Tunisia we didn't have plan B, and they brought Menike to actually come and assist, which is fair, because that means you saw that there was some deficiencies and you need to bring another. It's very simple for me. I fall on talent. If you are talented, if you are playing in Nigeria and you are talented and you are good enough to play for Super Eagles, you can play for the Super Eagles. If you are in Nigerian descent and you are in Cyprus, or you are in North Macedonia and you are good enough, you can play for Nigeria. Anybody, as far as you are talented, can play for the Super Eagles. I don't care about, because we've seen, look at Keshi. We won the World Cup we won the Nations Cup in South Africa with Sunday Mba. That's talent. Once you have the talent, you can play. You can do anything. So my own is, if everybody, maybe the foreign guys are the only one that are talented, fine. We have been looking for a goalkeeper. Now we have new set of goalkeeper in the Super Eagles. We have the Olon Leke, Leke from Aqua United. You have to perform We had Noble. So if these guys are not talented enough, we can't use sentiment to pick, just anyhow to play for the Super Eagles. If you know for a fully
I think that we're not doing enough to look for talent locally.
See, unfortunately, talent-wise, I don't think we are up there. Unfortunately, because we've called, we have Daniel Akpeyi, we have Noble, we have Onoroneke, we have Ezewa. If they are good enough, because if you are good enough, you'll be moving away from your comfort zone. But these guys believe, okay, fine, because we play in the local league, we have a chance. No, you don't have a chance. You have a chance if you are talented, and it's simple. That's why you want to criticize what's it called, Genetron. Don't criticize Genetron. If you are good enough, you'll be called to the team. So I think we should just leave the sentiment of abroad or not abroad. I know for a fact that the people abroad have maybe maybe a bit of hedge over the local guys. But at the end of the day, are the foreign guys not talented enough? Yes, they are talented. They are playing in top leagues. We saw Dennis, we saw Lukman. They are playing in top leagues as well. So playing in top leagues in a way, feel like they've seen that you are good enough to come to their team, to be bought by this team. So at the end of the day, whether local, whether foreign, once you are talented, from my own point of view, you can play for the Super Eagles. Because at the end of the day, Super Eagles is the biggest national team in Nigeria.
We should quickly talk about the quality of our local leagues, and you just said many of our players locally are not good enough, just like many of the managers are not good enough. What do we need to be doing to improve the quality of our league? You being a sports journalist who's traveled and seen other leagues evolve, what are we doing wrong, and how do we fix that problem where you and I can go on a Saturday afternoon and watch a local team and have some fun in the stadium and cheer at a team like it used to happen in the 80s and early 90s. So what went wrong, and how do we go back to building a strong league?
I think the number one fact is to have our league, have our games on TV. I think that can fuel the passion, that can whet the appetite of people and say, okay, fine, let me go and see these games.
But if nobody wants to watch it, why would we spend more money to put it on TV? It's like a chicken and egg situation. If the league is not good enough and it costs a lot of money to put on TV, and you and I are not going to watch it, so what are they doing on TV?
Unfortunately, people don't know that people consume the local league. Okay. And I think even when the cable station stopped, they were actually on the table to actually continue their partnership, but because of the dollar rate or whatsoever, it broke down. When the MPFL was on MPFL TV was on the app, people that watched it across the globe got to over 180 countries, and they had lots of tractions. And I think the first thing you have to ignite in people, in local people, is to actually let them see the games on TV. Now we have someone, Victor Mboma for Enyimba, 12 goals without a penalty, and we've not seen any of his game, and we've not seen any of his goals in a way except highlights. We know there's someone, Finidi George, international, the coach of Enyimba. I've not seen him. His ways like maybe he's a Jose Mourinho way, on the touchline. And I think that can fuel and ignite passion. But once you are shut out, you don't even know what is going on. The only thing you see maybe from prominent medium is maybe the violence that is happening across the centers, and that will actually push anybody away. Let me just mention this girl. Look at what Ikorodu City and Sporting Lagos are doing in the NNL. They are fueling their own fans. They are trying to, like we always say, we have to build new fans. They are trying to build new fans that can pay to watch. Look at what is going on in Remo Stars. I was at Remo Stars Remo Stars versus Wiki Tourist. It's not even a top game, and they had over 4,000 people locally that watched that game. But if you have those games on TV, do you know like half of it can actually sit around and watch? And that is where how you build your audience, you build the new fans, and take away the violent fans from the real fans. And that's why we are praying for you to come to the stadium with your family and friend, or even your kids, and have a good time no violence, no whatsoever, no illegalism. So at the end of the day, I think if your games are not on TV, look at what is going on at Anfield. If I watch Anfield, I want to be at Anfield. Because I've seen it, I've seen the passion, I've seen the fans, and I want to feel the energy as well. I'll travel down. So we've seen Nigerians travel down to watch, EPL games. Why? Because they've seen they've seen the good things. And you want to go and experience it. It's just like, the tourist centers. If you don't see tourist centers, you won't go.
Yeah.
If you see blue water, say, I won't go see blue water too. You travel. It's because of what we saw. So at the end of the day, the games have to be on TV to ignite passion and to fuel our viewership.
I like that you touched a bit about the role of the media in promoting our sports, and I just want to talk to you about that before we wrap it up. What's the future of sports journalism in Nigeria? Because it looks like when you speak to an average sports journalist, they complain about non-payment of salaries. They're struggling to make ends meet. First, let me ask, why is the industry so difficult for sports journalists to have a breakthrough? Is it that people no longer consume sports content, or people are not reading enough, or is it an economic problem, or we're not telling the right kinds of stories, or we're not covering the events that people want to read about? What really is the problem with sports journalism in Nigeria?
Well, I think in two ways, economy-wise, I think we are struggling as a nation, and of course you can't extract sport out of the economy. And secondly, the sport ecosystem. Even with a struggling economy, we saw what is going on in the Nollywood. We saw what is going on in the entertainment industry. They are moving, despite they are in the same economy. And I think our own ecosystem is not working, because everybody wants to be on radio, everybody wants to be on TV. Maybe those are the two that actually pays well. But if our ecosystem is working well, we have a full-fledged Arsenal team. You can be a PR person, you can be a graphic artist, you can be a blogger for them. We've seen so many people that will say, write for so correspondent for only Arsenal, correspondent for only Manchester United. And because their ecosystem is actually very robust, so not some people just want to write and you make your money. So if I write now, who write for the mediums are actually very few, and it's already choked. So at the end of the day, if our ecosystem is not, if you have just 10 clubs, look at Remo Stars. Remo Stars has taken, maybe including me, that I work, some consulting work with them, have taken me maybe off the streets. Now imagine they've taken 10. That's just Remo Stars. Now imagine the other 19 in quotes clubs in the MPFL takes another 10. That means we are taking 190 from the industry, working, earning well. Now go to the NNL. Okay, the NNL are not richer like the MPFL. We take maybe 10. They take 10 journalists, and NNL is, I think they are close to 30. So that means 300 journalists will be taken off the streets or off their comfort zone and be working at anywhere. So that means if the system is working well, you will see me calling myself a journalist. I will be working in the club as maybe the head of marketing comes. I saw what will happen in Kaizer Chiefs. They have sporting directors. Do you have sporting directors in Nigeria? No. Do you have head of scouts in Nigeria? No. Those clubs are not even functioning. We only have media officer, the head coach, and chairman, and that's all. And what does they do? They just raise money and pay salaries. There's the media department in a club have over 10 to 15 people across the world. Now imagine if a club, just media department, not even PR section, not even marketing comes, not even sponsorship. So our ecosystem, in a way, because I've worked, I do influencing job for other entertainment industries, and I see how it works. How I will just see some senior whatsoever specialist talking to me and refer me to the marketing comms. That's their industry. It's actually very robust. At the end of the day, they won't be the one to pay me. They will say I should talk to the accountant. There's somebody there who is actually working as well. So in a way, just on one job, I've worked with over 5 people. So, but our industry is not even. If you want to talk to maybe you have a sponsorship deal with a sport club, you only talk to the chairman. And once you talk to the chairman will take it to the commissioner. And the PS will have to be there as well. And then you end up with the governor. So there's no work schedule, there's no media department, there's nothing that is working. So if you are complaining about the economy, which of course is fair, but we've seen other industry who are very robust, the entertainment industry, and of course the Nollywood, and look at what Nollywood is doing now. And at the end of the day, who do we blame?
Before I let you go, I can't let you go without talking about the Minister of Sports. Many journalists have recently been critiquing or criticizing, his time, because there was a lot of excitement when he was appointed Minister of Sports. People thought he was going to move the ministry forward and all of that. Do you think he's done a good job? And whichever way your answer goes, why do you think he's done a good job, or why do you think he's done poorly during his time as Minister of Sports?
I think, like you said, we were exactly because, he works in the marketing comms. He has done journalism in a bit. And I feel like for the first time, someone that is actually doing sports has been appointed as, because Dalong was not, the former was not even close to being into sports. So we see someone who is a journalist who has been into sport, into communication, and can actually drive sports forward. And I think I will rate him like maybe 6 over 10. On infrastructure, he has done well. For you to bring back MK Abiola Stadium in Abuja, for you to attract, investors, big men in the industry to actually, put their money and start renovating, centers. The National Stadium in Surulere is almost done. That Nigeria, the Super Eagles can hold the Super Eagles, and if a center can hold the Super Eagles, it can hold virtually anything in the world. Yeah. So he has done, in terms of infrastructure, he has done well, and in terms of empowerment as well. Remember the sponsor and athletes. We've seen lots of businessmen adopting an athlete, and I think in that perspective as well is very good. But at the end of the day, I think his human relation has actually done so many undoing, because recently he's on longer heads with the NFF. He wants the 1994 set. He wants a local coach. He wants the NFS to be fair. So the interference in the NFF is actually stunning. And he told us, we didn't do well in AFCON. We didn't do well. And of course, Nigerians don't even know other national teams. They don't even know that maybe under 20s in Nigeria Republic being the Waffle B Cup. Yeah. They don't even know that the under 17 are in camp. They only focus on the Super Eagles. And when the Super Eagles fails, it's like all the, everything has failed. Yeah. And if you rate that based on when he came on, we've struggled. We struggled in Benin from 4-0 to 4-4, and unfortunately for him, he was training with the boys prior to that day. So on the basis of the performance with the Super League, which of course is the only grade when it comes to even the NFF, you want to rate them, you rate them with the biggest national team. He has not done well. Under him, we failed to go for the World Cup. Under him, this is the first time in over 20 decades, and in over 2 decades, that we failed to go past round of 16.
Interesting.
So at the end of the day, I think on infrastructure, on sponsorship, he has done well, but on human relation, I think I still work more on that.
Okay, so final question: what's the future of what's the next big thing for you, Pooja? You've knocked out photography, you've knocked out radio, you're even into consulting now at the club level. Yeah. What's the future? What does the future hold for you?
I think 2 things. I think I've not been to the World Cup because I didn't go in Russia. Yeah. So I'm actually planning to go to Qatar. That's one. And I want to move into management. I want to do not really management. I want to do more football, agents. I want to do more courses, because I think that's the only, because I've done, I've sold pictures of the biggest platforms, to get images, to Margot Jamlin. And I think, I'll still continue to do all those, but I need to move forward, because at the end of the day, the more you read, the more you earn, qualification, the more you move forward. So I think 2 things. I have to be in Qatar, I've already saved, I think I saved like 5K today. I've started saving,
Viola is not going to help you.
I've started saving. Unfortunately, Spike is going to be there, and I think I'm going to do more, management courses and go into football agent.
Fascinating way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Pooja, for this very wonderful conversation, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.